Each morning offers you a gift so powerful that most people overlook it entirely. It arrives quietly without applause or announcement. It does not force itself upon you, but it waits patiently, faithfully for you to recognize it. This gift is the blank page of a new day, and with it the opportunity to write your future in advance. Most people roll out of bed and surrender their minds to the noise of the world, the notifications, the doubts, the obligations, the endless pull of urgency. But the individual who understands the power of the mind, the individual who is truly meant to rise, treats the morning not as a reaction but as a ritual. They begin their day not by consuming the world but by programming themselves. And I want to give you something today, something simple yet extraordinary, a sentence, a declaration, a verbal blueprint. Repeat this every morning and you will begin to notice the transformation, not just in your results but in your thinking. Not just in your thinking but in your being. It is this: I am the architect of my life. I choose my thoughts. I direct my focus. I create my world. Say it with conviction, not as a hope, but as a command. For the world obeys the man who commands himself. Let me explain why this matters. Every morning, your mind is at its most impressionable state. It is like freshly poured cement, ready to receive the imprint of your dominant thoughts. Whatever you place into your mind during those first waking moments begins to shape the tone, the decisions, the energy of your entire day. And over time, those days become weeks, and those weeks become years. The sculptor doesn't shape stone with one strike. He shapes it through thousands of deliberate cuts. Your life is no different. When you repeat with intention a truth that empowers you each morning, you are shaping the stone of your character. You are programming your subconscious mind to serve you, to focus on what matters, to amplify what aligns, and to discard what doesn't. The phrase, "I am the architect of my life," is not motivational fluff, it is reality. For every action you take, every word you speak, every thought you entertain is a brick laid in the construction of your future. And if you do not lay those bricks intentionally, life will lay them for you, haphazardly, unconsciously, often according to someone else's blueprint. But when you take responsibility for the design, when you declare your role as the architect, something shifts. You begin to walk through life with the certainty of a builder, not the confusion of a wanderer. Now you may ask, can a few words spoken in the morning really change my life? And I say absolutely, not because the words themselves hold magic, but because they anchor your mind to your vision. You see, repetition is how the mind learns. It is how habits are formed. It is how beliefs are installed. And beliefs, my friend, are the root of every result you experience. If you believe you are scattered, weak, unmotivated, unlucky, then your mind will filter every experience through that lens, and your behavior will follow. But when you speak power into your mornings, you give your mind new instructions. You begin to break old loops. You interrupt the pattern of doubt and replace it with direction. You stop reacting and start creating. And soon those words, "I am the architect of my life. I choose my thoughts. I direct my focus. I create my world," will not be a script. They will be a mirror, a reflection of who you've become. There's a law I want you to understand. It is as reliable as gravity. You do not become what you want, you become what you repeatedly tell yourself you are. Most people live beneath their potential not because of lack of ability, but because of faulty identity. They've allowed their past to become their prophecy. They've memorized mediocrity, and without realizing it, they've rehearsed their limitations so often that they've become true. But just as the mind can be programmed toward failure, it can be programmed toward greatness. And the first step is language. Language is the code. Repetition is the method. When you declare who you are each morning, you are not pretending, you are training. You are rewriting the software of your subconscious. And if you do it long enough, consistently enough, with sincerity and focus, that new identity will take root. And from that identity will flow the actions, the choices, and the outcomes that match the new blueprint. Let me be clear, this is not about empty affirmation. This is about identity engineering. You are not repeating a sentence to feel good. You are repeating it to realign your system, to tell your mind and your body and your behavior where to go. Because most people drift through life hoping for change. But hope is not a strategy. Repetition is. Alignment is. Ownership is. And ownership begins the moment you stop outsourcing your identity to your feelings or your past or your circumstances, and instead declare who you are becoming. Each morning is a rehearsal for who you will be, and those who rehearse greatness consistently live it. Those who speak their future before it arrives invite it. Those who declare control over their focus, their energy, and their attitude experience that control in real life. Because the world does not respond to your potential. It responds to your patterns, and patterns begin with words. want you to hear this. You don't need to wait for permission to begin. You don't need external validation to take control. The moment you wake up, you are free to decide what kind of day it will be. Not because the world will cooperate, but because your inner world will. The man who commands his thoughts, regardless of outer conditions, is already rich. The woman who trains her mind to return to focus again and again is already powerful. This power is not given, it is earned. Each morning through repetition, through structure, through the simple act of choosing your first words of the day. And let those words be intentional. Let them be rooted in truth, not fear. Let them come from vision, not reaction. And if you do this daily, if you make this your new ritual, you will begin to notice that your external life slowly starts to reflect your internal authority. It won't happen in a flash, but it will happen. Let me leave you with this image. Imagine two people. One wakes up, reaches for their phone, and starts scrolling. Their mind fills with noise, comparison, distraction. The day becomes reactive, scattered, and unproductive. The other wakes up, sits in stillness, breathes deeply, and repeats, I am the architect of my life. I choose my thoughts. I direct my focus. I create my world. They rise from that moment with clarity, with poise, with intention. Their day becomes structured, aligned, purposeful. Over time, the difference in their lives becomes undeniable, and the only thing that separated them? A morning sentence, a simple choice, a deliberate ritual. So now I ask you, who do you want to be tomorrow morning? There is a reason the most successful, peaceful, and effective people in the world protect their mornings. They know that the direction of a day begins with the direction of thought. The first few moments upon waking are like the first strokes on a blank canvas. Whatever colors you apply, whatever shape you draw, whatever story you begin to tell yourself, that story begins to form the narrative of your reality. If you wake up and immediately check your messages, you've handed the brush to someone else. If you wake up and think of everything you dislike, everything that's uncertain, everything you fear, you've already dipped your brush in the darkest paint. But if you rise and speak life into your day, speak power into your mind, speak clarity into your purpose, then your brush begins to shape something beautiful, focused, intentional. And that's why this practice, this simple morning repetition, is so much more than a motivational gimmick. It is the foundation of a redesigned mind, and a redesigned mind will build a redesigned life. Now I want you to really sit with this truth. The world is not moved by those who merely react. It is moved by those who initiate. Reaction is passive. It is reflex. It is the result of a mind that has been programmed by randomness, fear, or the emotions of others. But initiation is leadership. It is choosing to step forward into your own authority. That begins the moment you wake up, before the phone, before the world, before the noise. Your first conscious act of the day must be internal leadership. And the way you do that is through command, through language, through the kind of sentence that reminds your nervous system who is in charge. I am the architect of my life. I choose my thoughts. I direct my focus. I create my world. This is not a request, it is a decision. And when you repeat it, day after day, with belief and presence, it becomes the first brick in your fortress of discipline. Repetition is how you install identity. Let me say that again. Not change behavior, not spark motivation, install identity. That's why what you say in the morning is so important. Because every day, your mind is looking for instructions. It does not argue with your input, it follows it. That's how the subconscious works. So if you say you're tired, behind, or unsure, it agrees, and it begins to look for evidence to match. If you say you are clear, capable, and in control, it also agrees and begins building a system around those beliefs. You don't need to be perfect, you don't need to be fearless, but you do need to be intentional. That one morning sentence becomes your internal compass, and you'll be amazed at how many tiny decisions throughout your day begin to bend toward the direction of that compass. That is the quiet magic of structure, not rigid rules, but gentle, powerful alignment between thought and action. Let's look at the mechanics of what happens next. When you speak a truth with full belief, you ignite a biochemical shift, your nervous system relaxes, your breathing deepens, your posture shifts, the amygdala, the fear center of the brain, receives less stimulation, the prefrontal cortex, the center for logic, vision, and planning, lights up, and that means you begin to perceive the day differently. Your emotional resilience increases, your tolerance for discomfort strengthens, and your capacity for creative problem-solving expands, all of that triggered by a sentence, a thought, a decision, That's the leverage of intentional programming. The body obeys the mind, and when the mind is clear, focused, and rooted in identity, the body follows with excellence. That's why great athletes have pre-game rituals. That's why peak performers use mantras. That's why monks and mystics repeat truth aloud, not to convince the world, but to stabilize the self. The sentence we've been working with, I am the architect of my life. I choose my thoughts. I direct my focus. I create my world, is not something to say mindlessly, it's something to embody. That means as you say it, you visualize it. You feel the truth of it as if it were already embedded in your reality. You speak it not just from your mouth, but from your spine, from your chest, from your breath. Each repetition is a sculptor's strike. Each day that you say it, you're carving out the old beliefs and reinforcing the new ones. And this work compounds. It is not about one powerful morning. It is about one powerful morning repeated enough times that your subconscious stops questioning it and begins to execute it as if it were law. That's when the shift becomes visible. That's when the results arrive. Now here's something vital. If you miss a morning, do not miss two. The point of this practice is not perfection, it is pattern. A pattern strong enough to rewire the way you experience yourself. And you will face resistance. You will forget. You will feel silly. You will be tempted to skip it. That's normal. That's the residue of old programming trying to reclaim its territory. Ignore it. Stay with the process. Overwrite the hesitation with motion. Repetition is stronger than resistance. And soon what once felt strange will feel second nature. What once felt awkward will feel essential. This is how transformation happens. Not in flashes of inspiration, but in steady pulses of repetition. Day after day, morning after morning, until your new identity becomes your automatic self. Let me give you a visual. Imagine walking into a control room each morning. On the walls are dozens of switches, each one connected to a different part of your life. Your confidence, your health, your focus, your decisions, your patience, your courage. Most people walk into that room and let someone else flip the switches. The news, social media, their past, their fear. But when you repeat this sentence, I am the architect of my life. I choose my thoughts. I direct my focus. I create my world. You walk over to the switches yourself. You flip them on. You say, today I am in charge. That is power. That is freedom. That is responsibility. And over time, those switches stay on longer. They start flipping themselves on automatically. That's the system. That's what we're building. So I want to challenge you. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, before you check your phone, before you move into your routine, pause, breathe. Place your hand over your chest and speak the words with strength, with calm, with presence. I am the architect of my life. I choose my thoughts, I direct my focus. I create my world, and then go live in alignment with that declaration. Not perfectly, but intentionally. And if you do this day after day, you will look back weeks from now and barely recognize the person you used to be. Because repetition has rewritten the story. And this time, you were the one holding the pen. There is a moment in every transformation when something inside you changes. Not a dramatic shift the world can see, but a quiet realization that you are no longer living by default. You are living by design. This is the silent threshold crossed by every person who has ever risen above their past and stepped into a higher future. It doesn't begin with money. It doesn't begin with talent. It begins with awareness. The awareness that your thoughts are not background noise, they are instructions. That every morning you wake up and speak with intention, you are issuing a command to your life. And that command carries further than you realize. You are not just programming your morning. You are programming your momentum. Your attention follows your language. Your energy follows your attention. Your behavior follows your energy. And your results, they follow everything. That's why repeating a morning declaration isn't just habit, it's alignment. And alignment repeated becomes identity. And identity is destiny. The difference between those who struggle endlessly and those who build consistently often comes down to one principle: internal ownership. The struggling individual waits for the external world to dictate how they feel, who they are, and what they'll do. But the one who builds, who creates, who transforms, starts with self-ownership. They begin each morning not with questions like, what do I have to do today? But with statements like, this is who I am, this is how I show up. That ownership anchors them, it protects their focus, it guards their energy. And it makes them more powerful than circumstance. Because now they are no longer reacting to the world, they are directing it, beginning with the world inside. And when the inner world is clear, grounded, and resolved, the outer world begins to respond in kind. Not by chance, but by cause and effect. There's a myth that needs to be destroyed, that you need to feel confident before you act confidently, that you need to see evidence before you believe, that you need results before you commit. But the truth is the opposite. Identity comes first, behavior follows, results follow behavior, and belief is earned through consistency. The very act of repeating a morning declaration is an act of becoming, not because you believe it fully at first, but because you are choosing it anyway. I am the architect of my life. Maybe at first it feels foreign, but say it enough and your body starts to agree. Your mind begins to realign. Your decisions begin to shift. You act differently. And suddenly one day you realize you didn't wait for confidence. You built it. And you built it by choosing identity before proof. That is how transformation begins. Now let's talk about the ripple effect. One sentence spoken each morning with intention doesn't just change your mindset, it begins to influence everything you touch. Your tone changes, the way you walk changes, the way you treat people changes. Your environment begins to adapt to your energy. Opportunities begin to arise that were always there but previously invisible because your filters were clouded with uncertainty. Now they are clear, and this clarity acts like a magnet. People are drawn to clarity. The world responds to someone who knows who they are. When you walk into a room with alignment, you don't need to be the loudest. You carry gravity, and that gravity begins each morning when you decide once again to speak the truth of who you are becoming into existence. Let's be practical for a moment. You may not feel like repeating anything in the morning. You may wake up tired. You may have a chaotic schedule. You may be dealing with resistance. But the moment you say, I am the architect of my life, I choose my thoughts, I direct my focus, I create my world, you've already won a small battle. And small battles won consistently become long-term victory. Your mind doesn't care how you feel, it cares what you repeat. That's why the repetition matters more on the hard days. Anyone can speak truth when they feel good. The one who speaks truth when it's hard is the one who is rebuilding themselves from the inside out. That's the real work. Not pretending life is easy, but anchoring yourself so deeply in identity that even the storms cannot uproot you. Think of your declaration as a daily reset. The world will pull on you, distraction will tempt you, doubt will whisper, but each morning you return, you reset, you reestablish your ground. This is who I am, this is what I do, this is how I think. The repetition becomes your rhythm, and rhythm becomes momentum. And once you have momentum, something shifts. You stop asking, how do I stay motivated? And you start asking, how do I sustain this alignment? Because alignment feels good. It feels like energy. It feels like clarity. It feels like peace. And the longer you stay in it, the more addictive it becomes. Not in a fleeting way, but in a grounded, structured, sustainable way. That's what we're building. Not hype, not adrenaline, but internal mastery, brick by brick. Now let me ask you something that only you can answer. What would change in your life if you lived each day as if your thoughts were steering your future? What habits would you upgrade? What environments would you leave? What conversations would you stop tolerating? Because the truth is, your thoughts are steering your future. Right now. In this moment. The question is whether you're the one driving, and if not, this morning sentence becomes your steering wheel. Each time you say it, you're not just speaking words, you're grabbing the wheel. You're saying, I'm not drifting today, I'm not living by reaction, I'm not surrendering my power, I'm moving with direction. And that shift repeated every day turns your life into a designed masterpiece, no longer accidental but intentional. So if you're still unsure whether this matters, let me remind you, everything you see around you, everything you are experiencing today, was first born as a thought. The mind is the factory of your future, and your words are the blueprints, so don't speak carelessly. Don't let your mornings be accidental. Choose your blueprint, repeat it, install it, embody it, and then go live like it's already true. Because one day, if you do this long enough, it will be. And you will look back on the version of yourself who first whispered those words in doubt, and you'll smile, because you'll know that was the moment everything changed. There comes a time in your journey when the words you repeat each morning no longer feel like something you're trying to believe. They become something you know, something you live. At first, it's just a sentence, a phrase repeated to interrupt the noise, but then it becomes a belief, then a behavior, then an embodiment. That is the path of transformation. That is the power of aligned repetition. And if you've been practicing this each morning, if you've been waking up and declaring with presence, I am the architect of my life, I choose my thoughts, I direct my focus, I create my world, then you're already shifting. You may not see it yet, you may not feel it every moment, but deep inside the foundation is being laid, the subconscious is recalibrating, the distractions are losing their grip, and the future once distant is beginning to move toward you, not because the world is different, but because you are. And when you change, everything you touch begins to respond differently, quietly at first, then unmistakably. Let's talk now about the environment you're creating. Because when you become intentional about your mornings, it's not just your internal state that begins to change. Your surroundings shift as well. The people you tolerate, the conversations you entertain, the spaces you spend time in, the way you carry yourself in the world. Why? Because identity is magnetic. When you shift your self-perception, you send out a new signal through your tone, your posture, your boundaries, your habits, and that signal either attracts what aligns or repels what doesn't. It's not personal, it's physics, like frequencies find each other. So if you've been wondering why certain friendships no longer feel right, why certain environments feel draining, or why certain opportunities are beginning to emerge, it's because the energy you carry has changed, and that change began the moment you started speaking power into your mornings. It's important to understand that this transformation does not come from intensity, it comes from consistency. Intensity burns hot, then fades, but consistency builds. It stacks, it compounds. That's why you must protect this ritual. Your morning declaration is not something you get around to, it's something you return to, even on the tired days, especially on the tired days, because those are the days the old identity tries to reclaim its territory. That's when the old voice says, "What's the point?" That's when the old patterns whisper, "Just skip it." And if you listen, if you delay, you open the door for drift. But if you stand firm, even for 60 seconds, even if it's quiet, even if it's hard and you say, "I am the architect of my life," you close that door, you reclaim the momentum. And one more day is stacked in your favor. This practice is not about becoming someone else. It's about returning to who you were before the world told you who to be, before the doubt, before the comparison, before the expectations. The truth is you already have the blueprint inside you. You already know who you want to be. You already feel the difference between alignment and compromise. But somewhere along the way, that voice got quiet. Repetition wakes it back up. Every morning you declare your identity. You remove one more layer of noise, one more false belief, one more piece of programming that doesn't belong to you, until eventually you arrive not at some distant version of success, but at yourself, your true self, grounded, focused, alive, unshakable. And that version of you does not chase outcomes, they create them. Let's talk about alignment. When your actions align with your words, and your words align with your beliefs, and your beliefs align with your values, you become unstoppable. Not because life gets easier, but because you become unmovable. You don't collapse under pressure, you don't fracture in chaos. You don't swing with the opinions of others. You know who you are, where you're going, and what matters. That kind of clarity makes you powerful. It makes you efficient. It makes you trustworthy to others, and to yourself. And that trust, that's what creates the compound interest of confidence. Because confidence doesn't come from shouting affirmations, it comes from seeing evidence. And that evidence comes from alignment. Alignment begins in the morning. In that moment where you look yourself in the mirror and say, "This is who I am, this is what I believe, and today I act accordingly." If you've been repeating this practice, even imperfectly, you're already seeing signs. Maybe you're noticing more discipline. Maybe you're feeling more grounded. Maybe you're starting to crave solitude over stimulation, clarity over noise, structure over chaos. These are not small shifts. These are the early symptoms of transformation, and if you keep going, they will grow. What begins as subtle becomes obvious. What begins as internal becomes external. What begins as repetition becomes identity, and that identity begins to express itself in every area: your finances, your relationships, your health, your goals. Why? Because everything in life flows from identity, and when you upgrade the root, the fruit must follow. I want to give you a challenge. For the next week, take this practice one step further. After repeating your morning phrase, "I am the architect of my life, I choose my thoughts, I direct my focus, I create my world," take 60 seconds and visualize yourself living it. Not someday, today. See yourself walking with intention, making strong decisions, saying no to what no longer serves, saying yes to the discipline you used to avoid. Feel the version of you who has already built the life you desire. Hear their voice, notice their posture, embody it. This is not fantasy, this is neural rehearsal, and when paired with repetition, it becomes one of the most powerful tools for transformation ever discovered. You are not imagining a different life. You are installing a different identity. And once that identity is in place, the life must follow. So as you move forward, remember, this isn't about perfection. It's about direction. It's about ownership. And it's about honoring the quiet power of repetition. The transformation you're creating may not be visible yet, but it is happening. With every declaration, with every morning you choose structure over chaos, with every decision to speak from intention rather than drift into reaction. Keep going, keep repeating, keep building, because your new life doesn't begin with a breakthrough. It begins with a sentence, and you've already started. There comes a moment in this journey, a quiet internal moment when you realize you're no longer just repeating a phrase, you're becoming it. At first it was words, then it became focus, then a habit, then identity. And now, without even forcing it, your life begins to match what you've been rehearsing every morning. You think more clearly, you speak more decisively, you move with quiet urgency, you build with greater speed and less doubt. Not because you suddenly became someone new, but because the version of you that always existed beneath the noise has finally been given room to lead. That's what this ritual does. It clears space. It removes clutter from the mind. It deletes doubt from the system. And what's left is pure direction. You don't just know who you are, you remember. You don't just hope things will change, you make them change, because that's what architects do. They design, they refine, they execute. And you start to notice something strange. The world feels different. Not because the world has changed, but because your filters have. You no longer see problems as dead ends. You see them as puzzles. You don't flinch when the unexpected happens. You pause, you assess, you adjust, you remain anchored. That anchor was built each morning you spoke the words, "I am the architect of my reality." The repetition built resolve. The resolve built habits. The habits built structure. And the structure, now strong, holds you steady even in the middle of pressure. And when others begin to notice, they won't understand how you became this version of yourself. They'll think you were always this way. They won't see the mornings. They won't see the decision behind the behavior. But you will. You'll know. It all started when you stopped letting the day tell you who you were, and started telling the day what kind of builder had just entered it. From here, a new responsibility is born, not just to speak your identity, but to protect it. Because the stronger your structure becomes, the more tempting it is to let things slide, to relax, to coast. But the master builder does not stop refining. He doesn't stop inspecting his foundation. He doesn't stop reinforcing the load-bearing walls. Your morning phrase is not a practice you outgrow. It is the ritual that keeps your growth sustainable. That's the real danger of success. Not failure, but forgetting. Forgetting what got you here. Forgetting that the same discipline that built the structure must maintain it. So as you rise, return to the phrase with greater reverence, not less. Say it slower, say it deeper. Let it evolve with you. Let it carry more weight, more depth, more alignment. Because you are not repeating out of need, you are repeating out of respect. Respect for the journey, respect for the process, respect for the power of the architect within you. Let's revisit the rhythm. You wake, you breathe, you pause, you declare, "I am the architect of my reality. I choose my thoughts, I direct my focus, I create my world." You don't just say it, you step into it. You carry it into your posture, your tone, your meetings, your meals, your movement. It becomes a rhythm, a cadence, a heartbeat. And when it becomes that steady, that integrated, you'll begin to notice that things which once triggered you now feel irrelevant. You used to spend hours ruminating over the small things, an email, a comment, a moment of resistance. Now you glide past them. Not because you don't care, but because you're calibrated for something greater. You're building something too important to be shaken by noise. That's the mark of someone who is living by design. Not robotic, not cold, just intentional, focused, and free. Now you understand the difference between control and command. Control tries to force outcomes. Command aligns inputs. And you've stopped chasing control. You've started living from command. Command of your attention, command of your reaction, command of your time, your energy, your space. You no longer try to manipulate the outer world, you master the inner one. And because of that, the outer world adjusts itself to your presence. Not immediately, not always dramatically, but consistently. The people you attract change, the way you're spoken to changes, the doors that open change, and none of it is luck, all of it is a reflection. The world, after all, is a mirror, and what it reflects is your standard. And your standard now is too high for low thinking, too strong for weak excuses, too valuable to entertain mediocrity. That's the internal shift this repetition installs. You begin to see everything, every relationship, every commitment, every behavior through the lens of design. Is this aligned with the world I'm building? Does this support the structure or weaken it? These are the questions the architect asks. And when the answer is no, the response is simple. Remove it, upgrade it, redesign it. Because nothing enters the builder's temple that does not match the blueprint. That's not arrogance, that's clarity. And clarity is love. Love for your future. Love for your potential. Love for the vision that chose you, a vision that requires discipline, not just desire. So tomorrow, and every day after, you will rise again. Not as a seeker, but as a designer. You will not look to the world for clues on how to feel. You will not wait for permission to begin. You will speak your identity before the world speaks its opinion. And in doing so, you will carve a life that feels like home, not just to others, but to you. A life that matches the frequency of your effort, the temperature of your focus, the structure of your decision. And in that structure, there will be peace. Not the peace of passivity, but the peace of alignment, of knowing that you are living, building, and becoming exactly what you were meant to be. There is a moment, after weeks or months of disciplined repetition, when you begin to feel something settle deep within you. It is not hype. It is not fleeting motivation. It is something more permanent, more grounded, more powerful. It is internal certainty. You no longer need to convince yourself, you simply know. You are the architect of your reality. You are no longer trying on this identity. You are living from it. It colors your perception, it filters your reactions, it frames your decisions. The world may still bring chaos, but you remain steady. People may still misunderstand you, but you remain clear. Your circumstances may shift, but your character holds firm. And you trace it all back to a simple act, waking up and declaring who you are before the world tells you who to be. This act, this ritual, has not just improved your days, it has shaped your life. One sentence, spoken daily with clarity, has become a compass, a foundation, a standard. And now you carry that standard into every room, every goal, every challenge. There's a level of peace that comes from structure. Not the kind of peace that comes from ease, but the kind that comes from knowing you are aligned. You are no longer fractured between intention and behavior. You don't say one thing and do another. You don't promise change and deliver excuses. You've become congruent, and that congruence is what makes you magnetic. People begin to feel your integrity, not because you talk about it, but because you live it. And when others ask what changed, your answer will be simple. I stopped giving my mornings to noise. I started giving them to purpose. I began every day by reminding myself who I was and who I was becoming. You will say this not with pride, but with quiet knowing. Because when you live from identity, you no longer need to explain. Your results become your proof. Your posture becomes your message. Your energy speaks before you do. Let's speak now about what happens to your relationship with time. Before this ritual, you may have felt like time was something you were always chasing. There was never enough. You were always catching up. But now time feels different, because when you wake with intention, when you speak power into your mornings, when you design your thoughts before the world designs your schedule, you begin to operate ahead of the curve. You move with foresight, not just reaction. You allocate time according to priorities, not pressure. You guard your focus the way a builder guards the blueprint. And because of that, you waste less. You create more. You stop confusing busyness with progress. You realize that a few aligned hours are more valuable than an entire week of scattered motion. You become a master not of time itself, but of your use of it. And mastery in this form is freedom. And then one day you begin to feel a quiet authority rising in you. Not arrogance, but certainty. The kind of certainty that comes from discipline honored and identity reinforced. You no longer need to ask, can I do this? You've proven to yourself that you can. You've shown up when it was hard. You've declared the truth when it felt like fiction. You've walked in alignment long enough for your environment to shift. And now success no longer feels like a distant dream. It feels like a structure being built, brick by brick, day by day. You are not waiting for momentum. You are momentum. And everything around you begins to organize itself according to the order you carry. Because that is what order does. It stabilizes, it attracts, it builds. And that order began with a sentence, repeated, lived, respected. Now let's talk about resistance. It hasn't disappeared, it never will. But you no longer fear it. You no longer shrink in its presence. You understand it now. You expect it. And more importantly, you've trained for it. Each morning declaration has made your mind just a bit stronger, your will just a bit clearer, your focus just a bit sharper. You don't crumble under resistance. You rise. You don't argue with it. You outlast it. This is the advantage of ritual, of repetition, of identity engineering. You no longer have to summon courage. You've built it into your system. The same way a muscle grows through stress, your character has grown through consistency. And while others look for shortcuts, you keep showing up, not for applause, not for validation, but because that's who you are now. The kind of person who keeps promises, who leads themselves, who acts as the architect, even when no one is watching. At this point in the journey, you begin to refine, not just build. You tweak your inputs, you upgrade your environment, you elevate your standards again, not out of dissatisfaction, but because the higher you rise, the more clarity you gain. You begin to see what's possible. You begin to ask, what else could I align? And that's when the real transformation begins. When you no longer seek improvement from lack, but from vision. When you chase better, not because you're broken, but because you've tasted excellence and you know there's more. This pursuit is different. It is calm, it is deliberate, it is sacred, and it flows not from pressure, but from identity. You are no longer trying to succeed. You are simply expressing what has already been installed. And the beauty of this is that it becomes shareable. Not as advice, but as example. Others begin to feel it. They ask different questions. They lean in. And when they ask you what your secret is, you won't hand them a to-do list. You'll hand them a sentence. I am the architect of my reality. I choose my thoughts. I direct my focus. I create my world. You'll explain that it's not a mantra. It's not a hack. It's a system, a declaration that becomes behavior, that becomes results, that becomes identity. You'll tell them to repeat it every morning, to pair it with action, to live from it. And you'll watch them shift. You'll watch them wake up. And in that moment, your transformation will multiply because you will have built something that reaches beyond you. So tomorrow, when you wake up, don't just go through the motions. Speak with reverence, repeat with strength, walk with precision. You are not trying this out. You are not hoping this works. You are living from identity. You are reinforcing structure. You are sharpening your design. And each repetition is a brick. Each decision is a beam. Each action is a wall. Your life is the building and you the builder. Don't stop. Don't stall. Keep laying the foundation. Keep honoring the blueprint. Keep repeating the truth. I am the architect of my reality. By now, something in you has shifted, not just in thought, but in rhythm. You no longer stumble into your day. You arrive in it with authority, with direction, with the quiet confidence of someone who knows they're not waiting for life to happen, they're shaping it. And it began with one sentence. A sentence you've repeated enough times that it's no longer just something you say, it's something you feel, something you live. I am the architect of my reality. These words are no longer borrowed. They belong to you now. They've been reinforced in motion. And as you continue, you begin to sense the truth. Your mornings are no longer an escape. They are the launch pad, the reset, the place where power is installed. Not because your circumstances changed overnight, but because you changed your relationship to those circumstances. You moved from survival to design, from hope to command, from drift to structure. And now the momentum you've created is beginning to accelerate. You feel it in the way you speak, the way you sit, the way you respond when things go wrong. You no longer ask, why is this happening to me? You ask, what does this make possible? You no longer lose hours to indecision. You act with speed because clarity has replaced confusion. You've trained yourself to align your mornings with the future you've chosen, and that alignment has become automatic. That's what systems do. They reduce friction. They build consistency. And now the system is running. The process is working. And what once felt like effort now feels like motion. The internal engine is humming. And as it picks up speed, the people around you notice, not just in your work, but in your energy. Your presence becomes more exact, your attention more valuable, your discipline more apparent, because you've built yourself from the inside out, one line at a time. At this stage, the next challenge appears. It's not external, it's internal. Can you hold your standard as things begin to improve? Can you remain rooted in the discipline that created your results, even when those results arrive? Most people drop the very habits that made them successful the moment they taste success. But the one who truly lives as the architect never stops refining, never stops inspecting the foundation, never stops reinforcing the core, because they know that success without structure decays. You don't maintain your discipline because you need to. You maintain it because you are it. It's not a tool, it's your identity. And that identity is what guards your progress, protects your momentum, and multiplies your gains. The moment you forget this, the structure begins to weaken. But the moment you remember, everything stabilizes again. That's why we repeat, not to convince ourselves, but to remember who we've chosen to be. Let's look at the environment you've been shaping. The one outside you is catching up to the one inside. Your space begins to reflect your values. Your conversations begin to shift in depth. You no longer entertain gossip. You no longer tolerate low standards. You no longer attach yourself to people, ideas, or inputs that don't match your blueprint. Not out of arrogance, but out of clarity. When you've invested this much time designing your inner structure, you no longer allow chaos to move in. Your energy becomes sacred, your time becomes non-negotiable, and your circle tightens because you understand that the quality of your life mirrors the quality of your associations. And the moment your identity becomes clear, the right people appear, people who challenge you, who reflect the same values, who respect the structure, who build rather than distract, and together the design grows. You also start noticing that the resistance you once feared is no longer a threat. It's a trigger for awareness, a signal that growth is happening. And instead of avoiding it, you welcome it. Not because pain is pleasant, but because you've seen what it leads to. You've lived the reward of staying in alignment when your emotions beg you to quit. You've watched your confidence grow not through praise, but through persistence. This isn't theory anymore. This is memory. Muscle memory. Mental memory. Repetition has become reliability. You can trust yourself now, not because you're perfect, but because you're consistent. And that trust becomes the base of everything. You no longer fear risk because your foundation is strong. You no longer fear change because your habits are locked. You are no longer thrown off by outcomes because your identity isn't built on results, it's built on discipline. And this discipline brings freedom. A paradox, but a powerful one, because when you know exactly who you are, you're free from confusion. When your mornings are structured, your mind is liberated. When your habits are predictable, your creativity flows. Freedom isn't found in chaos, it's found in alignment, in repetition, in the deliberate act of showing up for yourself every morning, regardless of mood, regardless of outcome. That's where true power lives, not in intensity, but in consistency. And you've proven that. Day after day, phrase after phrase, action after action. You are no longer becoming the architect. You are the architect. And from this identity, you build with elegance, you design with excellence, you speak with weight, you walk with a kind of quiet power that doesn't need to announce itself, it just exists. So as you enter the next chapter of your life, your command is not to add more noise, it's to deepen the structure, strengthen the foundation, sharpen the focus, repeat the phrase not as a beginner, but as a master. Let it remind you, let it protect you, let it elevate you. And each time you speak it, do so with a new level of awareness, a new level of embodiment. You are not here to impress, you are here to align. And when alignment is your goal, success becomes the byproduct. Fulfillment becomes automatic. Peace becomes natural. Because you are no longer hoping for change, you are living as the cause of it. And so I say it with you now. I am the architect of my reality. I choose my thoughts. I direct my focus. I create my world. This is no longer something we say. It is something we live. Tomorrow morning, say it again. Say it stronger. Say it slower. And then go out and build.